is nobody real that is suffering there. Yeah? So this is why these two very much support each other and go together. And also, very often the Lamas say, if you want to understand emptiness, the more you work with compassion, because the more then your heart opens, the better you will be able to understand, because you can then kind of observe the changing of I when you are full of compassion or when you're totally self-centered. Yeah? So compassion is necessary to understand emptiness. So in Buddhism, in science, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure, but we usually think, if somebody understands emptiness, that they are naturally a very kind person. They're not. Because compassion needs also to be developed. Because we are, by nature, very, 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 very self-centered. By instinct, by impulse, we are totally self-centered. Unless you can expand your self-centeredness when you have interest for these, as Einstein says, these few people around you. Few, just a few. You need to know them. You need, not necessarily, but there needs to be interest. Yeah. And this is why when things get really tight, when there's a crowd, everybody wants to get out. This is why people get trampled to death, because of that self-centeredness. I want to get out. Aeroplanes or trains or concerts or football stadiums, when the kind of, when things collapse, or when they push and push and push. Like, what was it, the gay parade or something in Germany? There were like hundreds of dead because they were pushed towards a tunnel. It was a few years ago, I think it was in Düsseldorf or something. There was a tunnel and people kept pushing, and I can't remember, more than 100 people died and many, many, many injured. Young people who came for a party. But because they had to go through this tunnel, then they got stuck. So, and that is definitely our self-interest. I need to get out here as quickly as possible. Yeah. That's why we suffer. And we also know, yesterday we learned, because of this kind of mistaken view of who we are, that with all these counterproductive emotions like anger and attachment and greed and lust and all this come from this misunderstanding. And this is that's the good news. You see, I don't want to make fun of these people, because that is the normal view, that yes, we have a mind, to some extent it has negative emotions, to some extent, yes, they can be maybe decreased a little bit, but getting totally rid of them is not possible. This is what Jungian psychologists in Switzerland in the Jung Institute believe. If you go to human spirit in Lod, they don't believe that, because they also have Buddhist teachings at the same time. Yeah? They study psychoanalysis, but they also study Buddhism. They get really good Buddhist teachers, not like me. They only gave me one evening, so that's okay. But what they're doing is really good, because then you start to have to trust that these negative emotions are not oneness with the mind. They're not oneness with the person. They have causes, and the main cause is the wrong view of who I am. Okay? And that's why they can be eliminated. But when I asked these people in the Jung Institute in Zurich, they all burst out laughing. And I said, you believe that there is a possibility to rid a mind or a person totally of any negative emotion? They go, no way. Now, if you ask me, is it possible? I don't know. Because I definitely still have negative emotions, because I also still have this feeling, this grasping and believing in an I. But I can see if we have so many beliefs, like the belief that I'm pointing to you because you seem to be the expert in needles. Yeah, but you seem to know it. Yeah?
For many years I tried to feel the meridians, and from time to time, I think I'm thinking, I experience like I'm feeling them, so
okay.
It's a wishful for me.
Yeah. Anyway, but you know, if I go to an acupuncturist, somebody needs to explain to me first that this is going to work. Otherwise, excuse me, why would I be lying there and somebody sticking needles into my body? So I need to trust this person. Okay? Because otherwise, and you know how it is, like all these sort of natural medicines or these alternative medicines, when they first come, you know, people go like, what? And then slowly, so the first people who go there, that trust is kind of naive, but it's necessary to go. Then slowly the trust or the faith, whatever you want to call it, increases because you see that it works. But you still don't know if it's really the needles or something else. You know, you still don't know. Yeah. So that's what I mean. So it's with, at the beginning, the faith, the trust that I have that I can be totally without any negative emotions makes me continue to do this work on myself, not just to tell others, but really on myself, because it's bloody hard work, I tell you. It's not easy. It's not easy to try to go again and again and again and again against your ego wishes and not get destroyed by doing that. You have to know how to do this. You have to be skillful, because otherwise you say, okay, I am nobody, but also everybody else is nobody, by the way. Yeah, but then you go, oh, I'm nobody, so let everybody do with me whatever they want. Then you destroy yourself. That's not skillful. And this is not what it means, the teaching of selflessness, or, you know, putting others' happiness before yours. So if you want to practice these things, I mean, alone it can go through so many wrong paths, and then you end up in psychiatry. So this is why also when we talk about Buddhism, it's the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. So it's like the Buddha is that one who kind of found this out through experience, through meditation. All of a sudden he saw how reality is, but through long meditation, years of meditation and practice. And then the Dharma is like his teaching, so we need to study it. And the problem with the Dharma is, even the Buddha said, my teachings are not true. You want to stay? You can go home if you want, you know. That's what he said. He said, my teachings are not true, but they lead to truth. And to the kind of truth that they lead to has no function. Because it's like quantum physics, nothing findable. Yeah, exactly. It's very profound, this whole thing. You know, it might sound easy, but it's not. And also Buddhism is not just about compassion and, you know, loving everybody and having an open heart. It's part of it. But the main point is to understand whatever appears to us is just a reflection of my mind. And my mind is actually creating, you know, the world. Not the basis, but when you start to look for the basis out there, if you go to science, can you find a real basis, a building block? First they thought it was atom, and then they went further down, and then it was what? Neurons. Who is a scientist? I'm not. I'm just repeating what I hear, okay? Then they went into neurons, and now they go into quarks or something. Yeah? And they still cannot find anything. I think they call this quantum physics, something like that. Yeah, many people know they probably, I'm not sure if they understand that much more than I do. But that's for the material world, but still we think there is a real material world out there. Some scientist said, if you take all the atoms of what things are made of and you take away the space, if you take all the atoms of all living beings, they would fit into a bottle. Do we believe that? Of course, it's a scientist who says it. The Buddha says it. It's well, how does he know? He didn't have any microscopes. He didn't have these machines to find atoms and look, because we don't see atoms. But there's another, like the meridians, we don't see atoms. How many of you have seen atoms? But we believe that there's atoms. a building block for then whatever comes. And we hear that, there's a lot of space between these atoms, and that just because they whiz around so quickly, then it creates some kind of solidity. Yeah? It's complicated, it's really complicated. And the more you are open to say, I really don't understand, the better you make progress on this path, really. The more we become really humble and say, yeah, the more you study, the less you understand. Because we're trying to put there's these two levels. The nature of things, which is their emptiness, their lack of true existence. That is their ultimate existence. And it's there, it's not that it's created or something. And then their conventional existence is that when certain things come together and the mind labels it as that, then it becomes such or becomes that. And that's conventional existence. But conventional existence is not true. So by understanding conventional existence, by understanding dependent arising, slowly we come to the true existence, but you cannot separate these two. Yeah? Conventional existence and ultimate existence go together, because if you want to have an emptiness, you need something, you need a base where the things are empty of. Okay? Because sometimes then we say, this is why people think that, oh, you understand emptiness, you disappear. No, you don't disappear. You start to dream consciously. You start to see that, oh, it's only my mind, kind of seeing it like this, without having to think that. Now, when we are totally caught up in a movie, for example, yeah, and you have all the experiences and emotions that go with it, the fear and the anger against that guy that is, or the woman who is so cruel and all this, and then you start making sounds in the movie theater, and then your friend who's sitting next to you is embarrassed and goes, hey, it's just a movie. The emotions go. Because we understand, hey, it's just a movie. So that is what our so-called real life is a movie. So the nature of the mind is, that's from Tenzin Palmer. Remember that video that we had? That was really good. The nature of the mind. So she says, the nature of the mind is like the light of the projector, who then has these frames. And these frames are our predispositions, our likings, our opinions, what we learn, what our world is doing to us, what the world is doing to us, and all this. These are the frames. And then the light goes through it and it projects a world out there. Now this world has a function. It has a function to make us happy or unhappy. But the way you see the world is not depending on what is there, it's depending on how you see it. Have you ever noticed that the same street, when you go down that street and you're really sad or angry or like in a really bad mood, it looks different than when you go down the same street with a happy mind? Do we ever stop and question that and say, how come this is the same street? Do we ever question it? We think, again, instinctively, we think the street has changed. Because when we are in a bad mood, we see all the dirty cars, the people who parked in the wrong way, we see the dirt and the plastic flying around and all this. If we are in a good mood, then we see maybe the flowers or we hear the birds or the butterflies or whatever. Yeah? Have you ever tried to help somebody who is depressed by pointing out the beautiful things? What happens when you try to do that? Can you turn around and make that face? Exactly. Instead of them saying, oh yeah, I can't see it, but since you say and you see it, it must be there. That's not what they say. I have a friend of mine who has a lot of heavy depression, and she needs to take constantly like pills. And so when it's Switzerland, so of course, you know, the winter is finished and spring, and then everything gets green again, and the birds and the flowers come up. So I called her and said, "How are you?" She says, "I'm not well, and the weather doesn't help, just in case." Protecting herself that I wouldn't come and say, "But look, it's spring, the weather is nice." I said, "Yeah, no, the weather doesn't help, it's okay." I wasn't going to say that. It's all right. It's the worst. In Switzerland, if you are depressed and the weather is good, that is the worst. Because everybody makes you feel guilty that you are not happy because the weather is good. And everybody thinks if you realize that the weather is good, your depression is gone. So best is, you know, it's raining, and for you rain is good. For us rain is bad. Well, it starts to become good also now. We also like water, not as much as here, but still. So if fog and all this, then you can wallow in your, because nobody will come, but look at the nice fog. So this is what I'm talking about, relatively good or bad. We all know the saying, the beauty is where? The beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We all know that saying. Does it appear like that when we see something beautiful? Does it appear as if the beauty is in my eye? Not at all. It appears that the beauty is out there from its own side. And then we have certain conventions, certain agreements, like I was in the South Pacific. So in the South Pacific, if you're really round and big, then you're beautiful. If you're skinny and thin, it's not nice. It is not nice. And because that is an agreement and convention, the very big round people, they move with a lot of elegance and freedom because they feel good about their wobbling things. And they dance. And they expose themselves because it's a good thing in Tonga. I don't know if you know Tonga. Like the king needs 2 seats on the aeroplane. Like everybody is fat there, you know. So I had one young man. When I was there, he was kind of running after me. And then I looked at him and I said, and then I was also still skinny now. It's like now I get more like Tonga. Maybe I should go back there. So then, I said to him, "Oh, come on, leave me alone. I could be your mother." He said, "No, not you. My mother's like this." So that was the difference between me and her. That you're not fat enough to be my mom. So like this, but there it's an agreement that being fat, you can say fat, it's okay, and it's a good thing to be fat. Being thin is not a good thing. Yeah. So. But here, it's inherently a bad thing if one is fat. And it's inherently a good thing when you're fit and slim and this and that, isn't it? Existing out there from its own side. It's rubbish. It's total rubbish. But we all believe it. When you see that, like me, I got 5 kilos more, I go, oh, there must be something wrong with the scale. I thought the first thing. Then I stood on another one and it was the same. So I thought, okay, probably true. Yeah, so it's like, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't going like, oh great. And then I turned the whole thing around. And because in Switzerland we get cremated when we die. So I said, okay, they need less energy when they need to burn me because fat burns by itself. So that's the good thing about being fat. You can turn, this is non-inherent existence. You can turn everything into something positive. But you need to have the skills. Yeah, you need to have the skills. Yesterday, Ari said, when you have an open heart and a lot of awareness, yeah, you said, can you detect when somebody wants to cheat you? That's what you ask, isn't it? Yeah, because people cheat sometimes in this country. Not as much as in India, but definitely they cheat people like me who see that I'm, the shuk or whatever. So I needed to change my attitude when I go shopping. So now in order not to feel stupid, or the friar. So now when I go shopping in order to give business to the people. Then, very easy to fulfill the mission. I come out of the shop very happy because I gave them the money and that's it. Try it out, it's really great. Try it out, it's really good because, usually we don't like to give the money. But if you have the money, even if you have the money to give, you don't like to give it, isn't it? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. So we try to get something really good for really cheap. If it's cheap, it's no good. If it's good, it costs money. So, so we have this kind of funny thing with the money. Even if we have it, we seem to have problems giving it. Yeah? Unless you know exactly that's the price and it costs that much. So then if they give me nice vegetables, it's okay. If the vegetables are a bit rotten, they've never been totally rotten, so I cut it off and then that's it. But I don't get disappointed, I don't get upset. So it's a good way to go shopping. And then people, in your talk it was like, Shulamito said, don't you feel like the friar? I said, no, because I go with a different attitude. So that's also something new that you could try in this country. Because this fear of being the friar, it really creates too much aggression. It creates so much aggression, and it's so stupid. It doesn't need to be. If there is conflict between two people, one has to be the friar, so why not you? Question that. Why not me? Why can it not be me? Because if you become the friar voluntarily, if you're being flexible voluntarily by using it as an exercise to strengthen your ego, that you're not flying off the handle every time you kind of find that somebody has cheated you. Yeah, if you see it as an exercise to let others go first, to see other people's happiness as more important, then it doesn't matter, then you won't suffer. And your life will become happier. And you won't walk around with this fear that somebody will make you a friar. Yeah? Okay.
So you can become a victim only when you have the mindset of a victim.
Exactly. But again, I have to be careful, okay? If somebody is really out to abuse me physically, or is cheating me again and again and again and again and again, then I say something. Again, you don't take it to the extreme that you say, okay, let everybody do with me whatever they want to do with me. But if you feel like the victim, then you become the victim. If you feel like, I want to practice patience. So again, try not to go to big situations, okay? Because we feel like the victim for small things. So I'm talking about small things because this is how we start practicing. Now I'm not talking about buying a house that, they cheat you. I'm talking about buying vegetables. I'm talking about the things that I buy. Yeah? Small things. Vegetables or a cable for the telephone or something like that, something payable. So even if it's 10 shekel more, so okay. You see, but we can. Can you notice that we can? Out of 10 shekel, we can make a huge thing if the thing only costs 20, for example, and they ask for 30. Can you see that we suffer too much because of these 10 shekel? It's not worthwhile. It's really not worthwhile. Because who is that? Then you get double cheated. Because they took 10 shekel from you that you didn't want to give or you didn't have to give, plus you were unhappy. So the 10 shekel, you lost them, so what? Yeah. But the unhappiness, it's your own doing. So then, this will be the discussion group. This will be your discussion group. Like how would the view of emptiness kind of change my life? Yeah. But again, I have to be very clear. When we say, like we did with the pen, now I'm going to this, when we did with what we did with the pen, and the reflection we do after the break. Otherwise, not enough time. So with the pain we understand there's no real pain somewhere, okay? So, but what the Buddha was mainly talking about, not so much about phenomena outside, that they do not exist from their own side. This we can see. The way I perceive an object outside, it depends on my mind how I see it. I think this is pretty okay, yeah? And I'm not even talking about good and bad, but that I, as human being, see this cup as a cup because I'm a human being. If I would be a fly, I wouldn't see it as a cup. Maybe I would see it as a landing place where it can land upon or something like that. Yeah? So for human beings, this is a cup, is a dependently arisen cup that exists and performs a function. Emptiness doesn't mean only in the mind, therefore non-existent. Okay? The same thing goes for the I, the self, or the me. You also have 3 words in Hebrew? I, self, or me, huh? Ah, yeah, okay.
I, self.
Yeah, I'm coming to the 4-point analysis now. So, do you also have 3 words for I, self, or me in Hebrew?
No. I mean,
In German, we don't have not mine. Okay, not mine. Mine is something different. You have 2 words.
No, מי
So you have me, and that's about it. The same, but maybe in German. I can also find Okay, so if I use I should not ask these questions.
are they the same for you?
This is what I'm just saying. If I, now here in Buddhist terms, if I say I, self or me, it's the same, synonymous. And it is an instinctive feeling of having an I that is something more than the body and the mind. That's what is being talked about when they talk about selflessness. There is an I, there is a me, there is a self. So actually Buddhists only talk about the self. There is a self which is the same as for this pain, the pain. We have a body and we have a mind. Or as we said yesterday, a human being is composed of 5 aggregates. A form, and then the psyche is divided into 4 aggregates, meaning the sensations, the ability to see the difference between things, and then is a big packet of mental factors where emotions go in, and like mental states go in, like determination, patience, flexibility, equanimity. All of this is called mental factors. These are compositional factors, is the 4th one, and the 5th one is called consciousness or mind. Consciousness and mind is also the same. So consciousness and mind is not the brain. It uses the brain to function, but it also uses other things like the body. Body consciousness uses the body in order to experience touch. Okay? Eye consciousness uses the eye and the light in order to recognize shape and color and all this. So, how the mind is and how the mind works, again, is a very, very, very profound and very deep topic and very vast topic. So I'm afraid we can't go into that. Because we already did yesterday anyway. Also, what are the 5 aggregates? This is what a person is. Yeah? But in order to make it maybe more simple, because we are new people this morning, and some of you might never have heard about emptiness. So we just take body and mind. Okay? That's easier. The body and the mind. The mind is that thing that perceives. Yeah? Like a mirror that perceives. But inside this mind, there is what is called mental factors. You could call these, mental factors. Like, it's also mind, it's not physical, but it has functions. Like the function of holding an object, for example. The function of being patient. The function of anger, who pushes away. The function of attachment, who wants to get. Yeah? Okay? These things are all mental. So, like, experiences of mental